Today you find me in Church Street and I'm right opposite a shop, or what used to be a shop, called Wainwright's. And there's a connection here with Trevor Disley, believe it or not. A relative or relatives of Trevor's took over this shop in 1959, and there's one person in that family, the Wood family, that I want to talk about, which is our remarkable person. And this isn't a man, this is a woman. And it's about time I spoke about the remarkable women in Coggeshall. And this lady is remarkable. There now follows some extracts from Trevor Disley's article on the museum website. On the Coggeshall Museum website, Trevor Disley writes, Phyllis Wood MBE 1918 to 2006. Phyllis was single-minded, direct, always knew what she wanted to achieve, and had a very strong sense of duty. She never really lost her edge. Just a couple of days before she died, I visited her. I asked her how she was. She said not bad, and then seemed to go back to sleep. I sat and held her hand, thinking she might at least know someone was there with her. After about 15 minutes, she reopened her eyes and said, "You might as well go home. You're not doing any good here." Phyllis was born into a different world, and in what was then an isolated house, the Pest House, which was up Tilkey Road. Her father had been a soldier in the Great War, and her grandfather had been shepherd on the Marks Hall estate. Granny lived next door. Phyllis, one of 10 children, and the oldest girl, she became a second mother to her brothers and sisters, and had a sense of responsibility towards them that she never lost. As they grew up, married, and had children of their own, Phyllis seemed to gather them all in and watch over and care for them all. She kept in touch by regular visits, something like royal progress round the family. She started work, as did many young women then, at the stitching factory, which was at the time busy making uniforms. She also joined the ARP, air raid precautions, and meticulously recorded all the air raid warnings in an exercise book. She was on duty at her first aid post by the Mount on the night the church was bombed. Although some soldiers on duty on top of the tower were blown off their feet by the blast, miraculously no one was seriously injured. As soon as she could, she joined the army. This suited her exactly, being bossy. She liked to tell everyone what to do. The army taught her how to drive, although she never passed the driving test and was somewhat an idiosyncratic driver. She was making steady progress up the ranks and was about to be promoted sergeant when she was struck down with TB. Several of the family caught this foul disease, and her older brother Douglas died from it. She spent the best part of 2 years in Notley Hospital and had the worst affected parts of her lung removed, but she survived. So instead of achieving high rank in the army, she was invalided out. She had various jobs over the years. She looked after the nurses' accommodation in Colchester and Black Notley, and later managed the retirement home at Stystead Hall. It was on the way to Notley one day that she had the front of her car, an old white Mercedes, kicked in by a horse, which was probably the only damage on it that she didn't cause herself. She worked for many years in the family business, a general store called Wainwright. She used to give away the profits in the form of free fruit and vegetables to anyone she thought deserving, to the despair of everyone else in the shop who were just trying to make a living. She was very well travelled in the days before jets and mass tourism. She loved Greece and Italy, especially Sicily, and climbed Mount Etna and Mount Vesuvius, and brought me a piece of rock back from the top of each. But her heart and the centre of her world was always in Coggeshall. She served for many years on the parish and district councils. It was both chairman of the planning committee and chairman of the parish council. She was instrumental in securing the land where the doctor's surgery now stands. She also came up with the idea of a community bus, probably the first such bus in Essex, and she even drove it a few times in those early years. She successfully campaigned against what was called the Inner Relief Road, a plan to divert the A120 before the bypass was built between the river and the houses of West Street and East Street. She was chairman of the council when a huge housing estate was planned for Highfields, and chaired a packed meeting at Honeywood School with the developers where you almost felt sorry for them. In any event, the plan was never heard of again, up to now anyway. One of her most lasting and important achievements was in saving the Grange barn. She was absolutely indomitable in her efforts to save it. She would simply never give up despite setbacks and impossible odds. The Grange Barn Committee had several remarkable people on it, but without Phyllis, I don't think the barn would have been saved. It was quite an amazing achievement. In 1995, Phyllis was awarded the MBE for her community work in Coggeshall. She was always a great royalist and was absolutely delighted to meet the Queen, and proud as punch about the award. Phyllis had a very full life and left us a great example, not just of working for the community, but of a great spirit of getting on with things, trusting people to do their best, and not being discouraged by setbacks. For those who had the privilege of knowing, she will continue to be part of our daily lives. Phyllis Wood was a remarkable person, and she had an MBE at the age of 77, and it's a remarkable achievement, more than I'd ever think I would achieve in my lifetime. And she's done a great deal of good work, as you've seen in this video. So kudos to Trevor Disley and his family. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe. If you have subscribed already, you don't have to click it again. If you click it again, you'll unsubscribe. So there it is. But I will see you in another video. Stay safe.